Hey guys, it's Joe again, coming at you with another unboxing. This one's a CultureFly unboxing. It's the Star Wars Galaxy box from winter of 2021, which I think means they've caught up with all their shipping delays. So I normally do the BAM boxes, and the reason I do them is to see if I can figure out what's in them and give a little bit of history, because I write about pop culture, I read about pop culture, I'm obsessed with pop culture, and some would say I even have an encyclopedic knowledge of pop culture. I'm not one of those people, but some would say that. Nowhere am I more obsessed, however, than Star Wars. So I thought this would be a fun box to open because, as you can see from what you're looking at, it's probably Hoth from The Empire Strikes Back, because it's, you know, the winter version and it's wintry. I guess there's an argument it could be Starkiller Base, so maybe I'll talk a little bit about that. But first, before I open the box, let me talk a little bit about The Empire Strikes Back. I'll try to keep this one short. The Empire Strikes Back, as you know, is Star Wars 2. Well, it would have been called Star Wars 2, except Gary Kurtz thought that that sounded derivative and inferior to Star Wars. So he came up with the idea of calling it The Empire Strikes Back. It was, well, just as a bit of a backstory, it was never clear that Star Wars was going to be a hit. And so when George Lucas was looking at options, he always knew there would be a sequel, but depending on whether or not it was a hit, depended on what kind of a sequel it was. So for example, at the time, most sequels were, you know, not as popular as the first movie, and the way they made money was you cut corners, and you didn't have as big a star in it, or you didn't have as many locations, or it was cheaper to produce, or it had an easier plot to produce. So if you're curious, the original idea for Star Wars #2, or Star Wars 2, was going to be the book. Alan Dean Foster released it. It's called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So that was sort of, would have arguably been the plot for the second Star Wars movie. And as you can see, if you read that book, it's kind of got one location. It's only got two. Han Solo's not in it, so it's only got two of the characters. Darth Vader's in it. And it hits all the basic story beats and could be a sequel produced at a relatively low budget. So you have that. But as we all know, Star Wars was a huge hit. And so George Lucas decided to go all out for the sequel, but he was a little burnt out. So he actually didn't write the original script for The Empire Strikes Back. Instead, he outsourced it. And he outsourced it to a famous sci-fi author called Lee Brackett. She wrote the original script. The plot was very different than the movie we ultimately knew, but some of it survived. So the original plot had Han Solo in search of his father-in-law. I don't remember his name. It was like Ovar Merkel or something like that. Because his father was politically tied to Darth Vader. Luke then goes off to, it wasn't called Dagobah yet, but he goes off to a swamp planet where he meets a Chinese Jedi Master, and we all know the name of that Jedi Master, right? His name is Minch Buffy. Later to become Yoda. Yes, both Minch and Buffy were the original names. And he teaches him and his sister, whose name was, I think it was Nilith, in that draft. And they both, you know, they separated them at birth because they were twins, and Nilith trained with Minch to be a Jedi, because they were hiding because Anakin had been killed by Darth Vader. So obviously it was a very different plot. Interesting tied to this box, Hoth was in the script, but Hoth was actually what we would eventually know as Cloud City, which is Bespin. But, so there's that. All right, so let's open this box, see what's in it. That's the background. Okay, well, I already see Snowspeeder coasters, which are really neat. The Snowspeeders are what they flew around in on Hoth. These are coasters for your drinks, obviously. Interestingly, the Snowspeeder was supposed to be in The Force Awakens, and Finn and Rey were supposed to escape in a Starspeeder, from the planet, but they cut it out because, I guess, budget or timing or whatever, they couldn't film it. However, if you look at all the toys that came out at the time of The Force Awakens, I might have called it The Last Jedi, but it is The Force Awakens. If you look at the toys that came out, actually Finn's Snowspeeder is actually one of the toys that you could have bought. And people often wondered, hey, why are there Snowspeeders? Well, it's because Starkiller Base. Starkiller also, going back to the original script for Star Wars, that was Anakin. He was Anakin Starkiller in the original plot, so that's where they got the name Starkiller Base. So these are, there you go. These are Snowspeeders. Oh, how cool! So this is a Tauntaun. Nope, I gotta go back. So this is a Tauntaun, but it's a Tauntaun bag, which is kind of neat. Then what can I tell you about Tauntauns? Tauntauns are, in the movie, they were made by both stop motion and live action, depending on which scene it was. That's why if you look at the original Empire Strikes Back, they're a little blocky in how they run. The sound was made by, I'm trying to remember what the sound of a Tauntaun is. Ben Burtt said it. Oh, I can't even think about it. Oh, it was a sea otter. That's what it was. An Asian sea otter. Originally, they were going to be reptiles, originally going to be rodents, and then they ended up with the stop motion. Now, this is neat. This is a bag. And it's funny, I wouldn't have known what this was, but for the fact that I recently went to a Simpsons pop-up bar with my friend Maggie and her husband, and she actually lent me her bag, so I know exactly what this is. So there, Maggie, you get a shout out. Now, the fun thing about this is you could carry groceries around it, or put anything in it, but I would warn, I guess, if you're going to carry groceries and things, you got to watch, because maybe it'll smell worse on the inside, and you think they smell bad on the outside. Oh, I couldn't resist. All right, what else do we have? We have a hat, because I guess it's winter. And of course, it's Empire Strikes Back themed. That looks like one of the original logos. Actually, it looks like Ralph McQuarrie-ish art. I don't know if that's actual Ralph McQuarrie art, but it's Ralph McQuarrie art. It is interesting that it has the flames under it, because Vader's castle, which is ultimately in the Rogue One at the end, and if you do the 3D game from The Void, you end up at Vader's castle. In Vader's castle, is in the flames, and originally there was a Vader's castle scene in the original script. So, completing my story, which I forgot, was Lee Brackett unfortunately had cancer. So after she completed the first draft and gave it to Lucas, she unfortunately died. She's still credited. Lucas still gives her credit in the final credits for writing the script, even though he pretty much rewrote a lot of the script. He took the next cut, and then Kasdan took the final cut again at it. And so then that's where the final plot. So you could see there are shades of Lee Brackett's, I think I called her Braxton by accident. Lee Brackett's script, but a lot of it has changed drastically. All right, let me keep going. Oh, this is another Empire Strikes Back look. So this is the AT-AT and the Snowspeeder, because as you'll recall, as Peter Parker knows in Civil War, he circles the, remember that really old movie? And then that's how they take down Giant Man, Ant-Man / Giant Man. Once again, these were done as stop motion animation. In the special edition, they didn't even hate the stop motion in it. What they hated was the way the white screen looked behind it. And so that's why they refilmed a lot of it. I mentioned sound. Ben Burtt, who did the sound, said that the sound of a walker walking, I think it's like I wouldn't say it's a carpet cutter. It's a metal press that kind of slams down. That was the sound he used for it. And then there you go. So that's what this is. It's a chain pin, which I'll never use. There's a cool jacket in here. The jacket appears to be the Rebels. So it's cool. I was curious whether it would be Han Solo's jacket, which I know I've seen in stores. Now, what's interesting about this, well, first I'll talk about Han Solo's jacket because it's not in here, so I might as well mention it. Han Solo's jacket in the movie, everyone thinks it's blue, and when the original action figure came out, it was blue, but it's not blue. His jacket's actually brown, and then because of the color saturation when they filmed it, it ended up looking like blue. What's that called? It's called post-production color grading, I think is what it's called. Same thing happens with his jacket when he's on. You think it's blue, dark navy blue, but his jacket's actually gray. His Bespin jacket is actually like a light gray. Now I think the action figures correctly you can buy them in blue or brown, depending if you want to, have what it really is in real life, or if you want to have what it looks like in the movie. But this is a Rebel jacket. It's maybe even Luke Skywalker's. Does it have a name on it? I don't think it does. This is a Rebel jacket. And I will mention that there is a famous cameo now, long before he was famous. And I talked about him in one of my last BAM unboxing, and that is from Cheers. He was the postman, Cliff. He's also the cameo extraordinaire for Pixar, and that's John Ratzenberger. He plays, if you remember the movie, Han Solo says he gets on his tauntaun. Where is it? Look, I'll reenact it. He gets on his tauntaun, and he says, "You'll never survive in the cold." And then he says, "Well, then I'll see you in hell." And that's John Ratzenberger in that scene. So there he is. And I believe, as I said, I've seen him multiple times at multiple things. And at D23, I think he told the story of how he took a picture of his parking spot because he was Frank Oz. And he's like, "I'm next to Grover," or maybe it was Jim Henson. And he's like, "I'm parked next to Kermit." It was something like that. And he sent the picture to his mother. All right, what else we got? Rebel socks. I don't really have anything to say about Rebel socks other than the fact that I will wear them, and I'm pretty well known at work, because as a lawyer I wear a suit all the time, for wearing dress socks of very unique things, and ties that even though I can point out what they are, the next time I wear the tie you will not find it. I have things like holographic Mickeys and Millennium Falcons and ties like that, which are really neat. But I haven't gotten any in these CultureFly boxes. What do I want to say about it? Well, I won't talk about this. I'll talk a little bit about, in the original script, the Wampa, who is the person who knocks Luke Skywalker. I don't see anything for the Wampa, so there you go. So I'll say it about this. When he's the creature that knocks Luke off his tauntaun and puts him in his ice cave. In the original plot, in the original script, there was a huge, instead of the Empire attacking them in Hoth, they were actually attacked by Wampas, and that's why they had to evacuate the base. In a later script, the Wampa attack was cut down to a scene, and as a result, you could see cut scenes. It's actually pretty cool. And it's in the novel. This one made the novelization. So they had all these Wampa attacks in the base. And as a result, when the Empire comes and attacks, there's a scene that is on the deleted scenes where C-3PO takes off the sign that says "Warning, Wampa inside," and then the stormtroopers go in and all get attacked by the Wampa. It actually is, if you've ever played the Star Wars arcade game, the one where you have to do all the movies, that scene has actually survived because you open the door and the Wampas are in there. And that's where they come from. The reason they had the Wampa scene in it, as in the final movie, was Mark Hamill had a really bad motorcycle accident, and they had to explain why Mark Hamill looked different. So that's why they had him get horribly beat up and attacked, and then also go in the Bacta tank. Interesting trivia I heard from Mark Hamill, actually multiple occasions, but most recently at Star Wars Celebration, he said that when he went to get in that tank, on one of the scenes, the heat had melted the mirror on top, and it fell, and literally he was a second away from being decapitated. Had he been in the tank, he would have been decapitated, but he wasn't in the tank yet, so it fell right in front of him. So that's, filmmaking can be scary. So there's that. We have a mug. That is, it looks like the Snowspeeder battle. So it's a Hoth mug. Probably for Hoth chocolate, I guess. You could put it in there. I don't really have anything to say about this. I should mention, because we saw Darth Vader, that for The Empire Strikes Back, once again, James Earl Jones, it isn't in the original. I think it's probably been changed with the special editions, but he wasn't in the original credits. And the reason for that is he was only paid $15,000 to do all of his lines. Now you may think, oh my God, that's not a lot of money. He's Darth Vader. But he thought that was great because he only worked for a couple hours to do all of the lines of the movie, and it was way above what voiceovers got. He also got a back end of the picture that was never disclosed. Let's compare that to Sir Alec Guinness, who plays the Obi-Wan Kenobi, or the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He worked for one day. He never had to go into the cold, obviously. And because it was filmed here, and there's rumors that Steven Spielberg might have even been the director of those scenes as the second unit director. I saw that in some book. Maybe it's How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, but I'm not, don't quote me on it. And then, but he received $1 million and back end for one day. So I guess we could compare those two people for their thing. I will tell you, the people who actually had to go to Hoth, they had a really, really, really rough time. It was filmed in Norway. I've actually been where they filmed it. I didn't go in the deep winter when they went. I think I went in the summer. So I actually, when I went, I thought they filmed Return of the Jedi there because it was all giant trees and all things. But it turned out that that's where they had filmed Hoth, on glaciers. But it got so bad that they had the problem because they had to keep the film warm, but the camera lens cold so that it wouldn't melt, show the melting ice and snow. And it's really hard. And in the scene where Luke's in the snowstorm and he sees Ben Kenobi's ghost and Han rescues him, that's actually a real snowstorm, which then eventually caused an avalanche and caused the crew to all be trapped there for a while. But that scene is, they're actually filming him from the doorway of the hotel that they were at, so that the crew was all warm and Luke was, poor Mark Hamill was out in the snow doing all those takes. All right, let me keep going. This is, oh, there's two more items. I thought there was one. This is a sign. I don't know what this sign says because I am not, I don't even know if it's this way. No, maybe this way. I'm not fluent in Arabic. It says Wampa warning. Oh.
This is a sign. I don't know what the sign says because I...
Look, Siri thought I was talking to her, everyone. That was very strange, everyone. Siri thought I wanted to translate that into a foreign language. This language is, the official written language of Star Wars is Arabic. That's what this sign, but now we know what it says. It says Wampa warning, which meant I could have told you what this is, and this would have been a really nice segue into that scene I was telling you about that's deleted, because this is probably, but it's in English, what was on the door. And then the last thing in the box is really neat. It doesn't really have anything to do with, it could have been any base. And I will use this because actually we're doing our bathroom. It's going to make it Star Wars themed. This is a sticker for glass, and it's basically the Rebel base. They always have these on the walls. They always have those glasses that looks like where everybody is. If you've been to Star Wars Galaxy Edge and you go on Rise of the Resistance, these are all over the queue. It's really, really neat. It makes you feel like you're in a Rebel base. So that's kind of cool. I'm not sure I have anything else to add. There was a card in it that fell out first. It tells you what was in it. This is the card, as I thought, no surprises. I got everything in it. Interestingly, I did the My Hero Academia box and I didn't get something, but then I emailed them and they sent me it, which was very nice. But I don't do My Hero Academia because I don't know anything near enough about it to make it interesting. But Star Wars, I know and love. I'm trying to think if I should say anything else. maybe another small interesting thing is I learned when I was in Norway that, you know how everyone complains Princess Leia is the only real woman in Star Wars? I guess Mon Mothma. And anyone who's a slave would be anyone else. But in the trenches in the rebel base in this, they actually used a lot of women because there wasn't enough people in Norway to film. So a lot of the extras are women who play the rebel soldiers in the trenches. So there's that. And then I think that's probably it. That's probably good. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you learned something about Star Wars that you didn't know. I hope I've given you some bit of trivia. If not, I hope I've entertained you. I will see you on the next Geek Box. Whatever. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.